He's back on form.
Hey!
Hey!
DHTV.
Hello and welcome to another episode of DHTV. Stop trying to put me off. And this week, I decided we should go light. We'll see how that goes after some of the heavy topics. And we've got no guests. Three of us are going to talk crap or Crip. And we're just going to see where it goes. And we've got some... I've gone through the massive amount of questions that were sent to us and picked out two. And we'll see how we go there. So, I mean, Good evening, guys. I mean, what have you been up to this week, Mick? Come on.
I firstly got to congratulate you, Zek, on being able to not go, what the flying shite is that blue scary thing. But luckily, we have all followed Dan's, we'll follow Dan's social media, so we know what it is. Well done, Emily. That's what we like to see. Here you go, Dad. Have a present that will scare you every time you go to bed. Like it. Anyway, my week has been interesting, busy. My wife and I are preparing for an art exhibition next week. And I did my art and it's all done and it's ready. Diane is still painting and I've had to kick her out of our studio for an hour so I can do this and she'll be back painting. So I haven't actually had a wife this week. I've had a kind of painting monster who just disappears into a world of art. I went to a club on Friday. I went raving, old school.
Then left to go to the toilet.
And they had a bog and everything. It was great. Really scary. Like, you know, when I used to go raving, none of that stuff. But look, this was called The Electric in Brixton, and it was brilliant. A club called Peach. It was great. Then the next day, I went to the Dublin Castle to see a mate's band, and not only did they not have a toilet, but they didn't have any access, and I was nearly not let in because I was a fire hazard. So I've had one extreme to the other. But other than that, it's all good.
The fire hazard, is that the hairspray?
It could be. Do you know, I've always wanted a flamethrower. I've always just wanted I'll give you fire hazard. But, yeah, I don't know. I used to get it all the way. In the 80s, you'd get everywhere you went. Sorry, mate, fire hazard. No, sorry. I once got turned away from a club for being a fire hazard. And then about a year later, I became famous. And so I went back and went, oh, yeah, of course you come in. You're famous. You can go anywhere you like now. And I went in and it was completely level throughout the whole club. And it had a toilet. Wow, fire hazard. Whoa. And what you meant was, I don't like the look of you makeup wearing weirdo cripple. So I was like, okay, fine. So anyway, there we go. That was my week. I'll stop talking because otherwise, you know me, I'll have the whole show.
What about you, Dan? Have you been raving this week?
I've been raving mad, put it that way. But no, my week has been quite eloquent.
What's happened? What's happened, Dan? What's sent you raving?
Well, yeah, I did a blissful. No, I did a blissful piece for BBC Radio 4 this week because they wanted to discuss the fuel situation on carers and disabled people. And yes, I did my little piece about the fact that, about the fact that it doesn't take much to send the country into a panic situation whereby everyone just wants to buy everything. There's every man for himself. So I'll just quietly put the thought out there that if you're at the pump and you're filling up possibly £100 worth of fuel, it might be worth thinking who's in the car behind you. What do they need the fuel for?
Sorry, did you say thinking?
Yeah.
You want them to think?
I want them to think because this week I've been inundated with social media messages from parents and carers themselves who have sent me images of the dashboards on empty saying they've missed appointments, they've missed surgeries, they've missed emergency dashes because they literally can't get to hospital. And so that's been my week this week, pretty much on GER mode. But other than that, have my drafts accepted for my second children's book, and I've sent another draft of another story to my agent, and we're talking about it this Tuesday about who we're going to pitch it to. So it's been very much from GER to this week. How about you, Zach? What have you been up to?
Well, I mean, we're lucky. We decided just not drive the car. Yeah. You know, we can do that. I mean, I don't go anywhere, and it's kind of like if it happens. Then someone messaged my wife who lives on a main road and said, there's a fuel tanker. She said, I'm going to go and get some just in case. And they were all queuing for petrol. So because she was diesel, they waved her through. And she was home within 5 minutes. So we had a bit. She didn't go mad. We can't go mad. We haven't got that sort of money to put in fuel. But we're now to the point where if something happens, we are safe. I think our major issue is the eat or heat over the winter situation that is going to be hitting many people.
We're not going to be alone there. I think we're going to order a quantity of firewood for our burner in the lounge because everyone's just looking now. Inflation's going up and food prices are going up. If there's any food around, how anyone is actually going to afford to do anything other than starve? I mean, it's quite easy to starve. It's quite cheap, so I've heard.
Yeah,
do you know what? It's funny, really. We've been taken back to the 70s.
Yeah,
we all remember the 70s. You went in a shop, there was hardly anything to choose from. There was no power. We had candles out. We had petrol shortages. It's just like it. It's great. You know, just the telly's not as good. Where's the bionic man?
Out of the three of us, I think I will survive in a starve off. I'd probably be last man standing. I can afford to starve. Yeah. I can stand. I'm in a wheelchair, you ableist shit.
He's one of those hobbyist, lightweight ones that jumps up, runs about.
Yeah. I'm just on the London Marathon. I was on the London Marathon. Look. Honestly, it's really. I'm going to go arse over tit now, aren't I?
Yeah, you're going to go. Watch me stand up.
Look, my earphones are falling out, but fuck.
It's a miracle. It's a neighbour's Christmas special miracle.
Now, I proved I could sort of stand, but I've just bruised my elbows on the wall behind, falling back.
Yeah, of course, I would do that, but as I can't anymore, I would just go plump. So, yeah, I'll avoid that. Yeah, no.
I can stand, sort of.
Did anyone else get a letter going, by the way, you don't need to shield anymore, despite the fact that I've not ever been told to shield?
Oh, well, we could paper a wall in those. First of all, Emily was vulnerable, then she wasn't, then she was. Then she wasn't, then she was, then she wasn't. So we've got a little memory box upstairs that I've collated all newspaper clippings and letters that she's received during COVID and stuff like that. And I think the majority of them are yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So at the minute, Emily and I are in a quandary about who she is and what she is and what she's allergic to. But yeah, I saw on social media you received another one.
Diane got one. Diane got a letter going, you no longer need to shield. And what the fuck are you talking about? She's got a scar on her arm. I don't know what she's just paid. I think, see, that 37 billion's got to go somewhere, isn't it? Right? Yeah. If you pay 37 billion to a private company, they've got to do something. And obviously, what they've done is gone, well, we've only spent about $1 billion. Quick, let's spend 7 billion on emails.
Well, Donna got through a letter saying we'd like you to participate in a COVID testing scheme, which is like, no, because honestly, if you saw her, we put a cotton bud up her nose and it barely touched, and she was screaming that it was almost poking her brains out. I wish I'd filmed it. So she got one. She was like, I don't want to do that. She got 3 more. Big, thick letters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, I really don't understand it. The trees that have died purely because someone's confused in a DWP.
It's also, none of it's recyclable.
No.
So all that bits, because I've got loads of those. What is it? The little one you can do at home. That they were handing them out in Soho. That'll teach you. See, showing off.
Yeah,
look at what I can do with my partially working legs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got a load of them. They were handing them out free, and I thought, and then you do them, and you're like, have I done it right? I've got no idea. Yeah. And it goes negative, and you go, I don't know if I am negative. I've got no idea. I've got no idea what I'm doing. And then you think, oh, all that's got to go in the bin now.
Yeah,
it's lovely, isn't it? You save the planet. COP 30, whatever it was, COP 20.
Yeah, well, and when I went for a run the other day, I picked up 32 masks in a 4-mile radius. 32 masks just on the floor. So yeah, we're doing well with our ecological drive from the government upwards and downwards. We're doing really, really well. We're going to hit our target of the earth burning to a cinder probably in the next 2 years.
I'm just reading one of the comments. So Sally Hager said, Mick, here's a tip. Flamethrowers don't burn weeds treated with Roundup. It makes some kind of hallucinogenic chemical. I
think Mick was wanting to burn people.
Yes, I wasn't thinking of cleaning the garden. I was thinking of going to a pub and going, you called me what? But having said that,
where are you going to get the fuel?
Now I know. So what you mean is get some Roundup, treat some weeds, and then have a good old sniff.
Yeah. Well, Sally just said she's ordered logs as well. So I think we're all going to be burning trees, cutting trees for letters, throwing our masks away, throwing our test kits away.
I've got a fireplace. It could get messy.
But the good thing is, of course, is the Queen's planting, what is it, loads of trees for whatever, something, birthday, Christmas, anniversary.
She's burying Andrew.
So there's going to be loads of trees to cut down, only little ones, but that'll be all right.
She's disposing of Andrew in bits. He disappeared to Balmoral, and now she's digging loads of holes. Yeah, one's burying trees.
Quick, put the thing up about our views are all our own. Quick.
Oh, hang on.
No, I think we might have to leave that on permanently. In fact, what we need to do is get T-shirts with that print.
Oh, I just deleted it. Hang on. Oh, you just right. So let's go to one of our many questions that we had from the viewers.
Yay, questions.
Yeah.
Questions. So Mark sent in some bits, and he said, "When is it appropriate to bring up to talk about somebody's disability?"
In what context?
Yeah, like walking up to someone. Don't do that. Hello, mate. What happened to you?
Yeah, I guess that's what it's, as a friends. I mean, if you make friends with someone, what is it? I guess it's saying, so you newly friends with someone. Do you go, do you want a pint? Yeah, thanks. Where's your leg? That sort of,
See, I would say that it's up to the person who is disabled. The disabled person can bring it up. So, and this is what I teach when I'm getting paid the big bucks to train people not to be dickheads, because that's basically what my job is. I basically say, don't ask someone, what happened to you? Why are you in that? Wait for them to tell you. Now, some people like myself and like Zek, I imagine, are kind of, I mean, let's make it, Dan's made a career out of going, we all have. So we'll tell anyone anything. Right, that's up to us. But someone else, for example, say someone is new to it, say someone is having a bad time, or say you might be the 100th person that week to ask, what happened to you? Don't. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's it. And that's the best way. And I think that goes for everything. No matter where you are or what you're doing, if you just, don't. If the situation arises where you have to ask, like you come up to a flight of stairs and like you go, so would you be able to walk up these? That's okay. Just like, Zek might say yes, I would say no. Do you know what I mean?
I'd say yes, but it'd get messy. I'll get one step.
I get halfway.
No, not even halfway.
But do you know what I mean? I think that's so. Mark's saying, what about someone at work? Well, yeah, no. I mean, the thing is, right, is like in a work situation. Now we really are on my ground of expertise. In a work environment, what the work should be doing is making it so that a person can self-declare, as it's called. So basically, they should have told like HR. And it's really advisable if you get a job, it's really worth telling. You don't have to tell them till you've been offered the job. But once you've been offered the job and it's a firm offer, then what you do, you say, oh, by the way, I have reasonable adjustments because under law I am disabled. And then you give them your list of adjustments. You might also say, by the way, this is my impairment, just to make sure you understand. But you don't have to do that. And then they will put in place all the stuff you need so you can do your job. And then it's kind of up to you. So, for example, I did some work with someone that had sciatica, and they were saying, well, it means I can't sit down for very long, and I have to stand up. And then when I'm standing up, it hurts, so I sit down. So I'm always up and down. And it's like, well, one, there should be a culture of just saying, well, that's cool, do what you like. If you want to walk about while you're having a meeting, great. If you want to sit down, great, whatever. But it's sort of up to the person, because if you ask, it can be intrusive, and it also places the onus for an answer. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that means that it's funny, I was talking about this on Twitter. Someone was saying, like, when people come out and go, what happened to you, mate? And, all the mad stories you make up. And I'm quite lucky because I had cancer. So when I say I had cancer, they all go, oh, okay. And because the thing is, they then think, because the next question is, have you still got it? Yeah. And no one wants to be the one that asks that. So you go, no, I'm dying. So basically they go, oh, okay. And it took me years to learn that, because what I used to do is tell them all these convoluted stories. I've told you about the one about the blue ice, where I was sunbathing in my parents' back garden, and an aeroplane, because I was really living near Luton Airport, an aeroplane accidentally dumped some blue ice and it landed on me and broke my back. So I was disabled by frozen shit. It was basically what I used to tell people, and they'd go, really? And you'd be like, God, you're gullible. But yeah. So
it must be worse from your point of view. I mean, we get people coming up to us, Dan, and going, or what happened? But you must get people coming up, not talking to Emily and going to you, what's wrong with her?
Oh, yeah, no, at that point, I just generally walk away, because Emily just generally takes over. And her statutory answer is, it's my brain, I'm bonkers, and then she just walks off. Either that, or she'll say, "Well, it's my business," and she'll walk off.
Good girl.
Yeah, she got to the point where she was constantly being asked, and she put up a defence mechanism about it. And I can't blame her because there's other things she wants to talk about. She doesn't want to. That's all there is to us. The main part of her. It's just so she just built up a defence mechanism about it, and I totally appreciate that. But people need to stop talking to the children rather than the adult, because the children just get frustrated, and the adult just thinks, "Oh, for the love of sanity, are you ever going to stop watching children in need?"
The other thing is that they always frame it with the "what's wrong with you? What happened to you?" It's not like, "Oh, that's a nice chair." Do you know what I mean? And there's a way of doing that means you open the conversation, and it's not like, "All right, then, why are you broken? You broken piece of brokenness." And so, of course, if you're a kid, I mean, I remember, getting people coming up to me going, "Oh, why can't you walk properly?" But I used to kick them, so it didn't matter, I wouldn't have. Apparently, that's not allowed in school now. When I was a kid, people would come out and go, yeah, you can't walk. And one, I'd go, wow, you're such a good bully because you've come up with the insult of not being able to walk to the bloke that can't walk. Wow. Yeah. Oh, my God. All those years of bully school was worth it. So then I'd just kick him in the bollocks and that'd be the end of that. So what we got here. So Katie's just said that question about what if an application form says about now. One, they shouldn't ask you on an application form. They can ask you on a equal opportunities monitoring form, but you shouldn't have to put your name on that because that should be anonymous. Because they can't ask you in a job description, hello, and by the way, have you got anything that might put us off? And it's part of the reason why they now take all of your details off a CV. Because there was findings that, if you had a foreign sounding name, or even if you, were female, believe it, the shock horror, right? You might not get an equal crack at an interview. So apparently a handy tip, not that I do this myself, is to take all of your personal details off your CV and just put what you've done and what you know and send that in. So, but yeah. It's right.
You are a minefield of brilliant expertise. This is why you are not earning a six-figure salary every year. I do not understand why you are not earning a six-figure salary every year. People should be piling into you for work. They really should.
I mean, the thing is, it's one of those. I would do more. I mean, I don't get asked a lot, but two, when I do. I do stuff I want to do because I've been doing it now for about 10 years, and like a lot of things, you kind of get, you sort of start thinking, oh God, not again. Because I really do go into a room full of people. They're all very well intentioned and it's all very lovely. But it's kind of a bit like trying to teach people, like I said, not to be dicks. And it's sort of, like you said, don't just go up to someone and say, hey, what's wrong with you? And here's a list of words that you should use. And here's a list
Most of people are like the IT crowd, aren't they? They're like the boss of that, what's his name? Yeah.
And you get people go, well, why shouldn't I call you wheelchair bound? And it's like, because I asked you not to. It's not, you might have used it for years before. And I'm not saying that you were doing it evilly or out of bad will, but now don't. It's not a big deal. All you'll do is make people not like you. Yeah. Right? Basically, if you come to me and call me wheelchair bound, I will not warm to you. So now, even if you're really well intentioned, right? If you don't use the right language, you will turn me off because I'll be like, well, I don't care. I'm not, you're obviously not bothered. So when someone, as you said, gets paid the big bucks to stand in a room and go, don't use these words, use these words. The answer isn't, but why? I like calling people handicapped. This one don't like it.
Yeah.
So but that's it. So,
but somebody put on Twitter recently, didn't they? And I think they were able-bodied. I don't like to use the word disabled.
No.
What was it? Differently able?
You should call yourself physically challenged or differently
able. I
can't
remember, but I think he got.
I'll tell you, Amy's running as an independent councillor. She went to a local meeting, and the councillor there, who's not disabled, took my wife to task for using the word disabled. She said, "No, we like to call them differently abled. That's the language we are using." What with that and the UN thing this week that I saw online that we all tweeted, it just makes me wonder why we are not allowed to control our own descriptive language. It's
probably the only minority that can't.
Actually, grinds my bones. I don't. You wouldn't do it to any other community. Why?
See, the thing is, though, they do. Though this is the thing is that it takes a lot for a community to gain back their language, and I mean, like the BAME, bit of black and minority ethnic. I remember when that came in, and it was led originally by those communities, because they thought if we all come together, we'll make this big thing. But then it became this kind of, easy tick box for, white middle class men in positions of power to go, oh, look, haven't we done something? And now it's fallen from favor again. But that was led by that community. And what bugs me is the International Paralympic Committee put out a lot of rubbish and then had to backtrack. And then, like you said, the UN. And yes, the UN are talking about all countries, including countries that aren't as politically aware, that aren't as far forward in their equality struggle. We in England are very anal about language. We're really focused on that. And I know that lots of my disabled friends go, does it really matter if I can get in the building, call me what you like? And I'm like, well, I used to think that way, but there's a lot of power around language. But the UN saying blanket do not use disabled people, even though the international kind of rights community, the politically aware, the disabled movement internationally say it's our preferred term. It's like, oh, okay, so we'll just not, So I must admit, I'm finding it, I don't know about you, but I'm finding myself in this kind of crisis of, can I be asked anymore to keep fighting about this stuff? Because in a way, the people that say, well, what about the big stuff is correct. I went to a pub last night and I had to go home because I needed to pee. You could have called me an elephant. As long as it had a toilet, I don't care.
Taxi would have been better.
Sexy, and I know it.
No, taxi, not an elephant. It's lost on him. Right, let's move on from that. Let's move on. Katie has sent us.
Yes, Katie.
Let's go to Dan. What is a favourite pastime that is unusual that we may not know about you, Mr. White?
Favourite pastime that's unusual? Oh,
yeah.
God. Apart from seal clubbing, let me think.
Poor bloke. He was big in the 80s. Leave him alone.
No, unusual. Where's it gone? No, unusual pastime. I don't really know what unusual pastime is. At the moment, it's trying to protect a hot tub by putting a ball on the top of it and a gazebo on the top, and then going out every day because it's blown off, and then doing it all again. But running in the rain, that's something I really love. I waited till it rained today, and I went for a run, and I got absolutely soaked, and I'd probably get pneumonia.
I go running.
Look what I can do with my perfectly working legs.
And I'm also going to learn to be a Dungeons and Dragons master.
Oh,
so I can play with all the team at Geek Retreat and be on Emily's team. So yeah.
Never played Dungeons and Dragons. I've got a guy I know who runs Mariner Jack Big Care. Plug. There you go, Dave. That cost you a tenner. He's into the old Dungeons and Dragons, but I've never stooped that low.
Well, come on then, Zach. No. What's your hobby that's a dirty secret? What's your dirty secret hobby?
My dirty secret, boy?
Yes.
Well, it's a bit sensitive, that. I don't have any strange hobbies. I mean, I like modelling. I like model aircraft. Not that I've done it for a while. I've got a box full of half-made bits because I think, oh, no, that hurts just to sit there for too long, and I will sit there for too long.
Yeah.
My beekeeping, nothing's really strange, whipping Tories as they walk down the street in their bond.
Oh, you've always got
strange.
That's not a hobby though. That's a career, isn't it? I mean, let's face it, they are the kind of people that would pay for that kind of thing.
They are paid. But no real strange hobbies. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to collect beer mats.
That's all right.
From all around the world.
Go in the pub. I'm just having this. This half-empty pint. I'll have that too.
It was like collector's sets. In the pub. I had stacks of the things, and then my mum threw them out. But yeah.
Come on, Mick. Mick, what's your secret, Mick? Secret.
I think they're stacked behind him.
Again, because of social media, and an inability to keep my gob shut, I don't really have any secrets. So yeah, I think.
Except he calls for an elephant when he wants a piss.
So I don't know why. Whenever I talk about language, I talk about elephants because I wrote an article saying, "Well, if you call me an elephant, Anyway, it was in Possibility or Unite. I can't remember, one of the two. Anyway, I put it online. Swearing at computers. Yes. I do a lot of that. I do a lot of my computer at the moment is bringing me to tears far too often because it just won't work.
I'm trying to stop swearing at the moment. I'm trying to use oi or oy vey instead because I've got a potty mouth and I'm trying to put something else in place, but I just sound like a 500-year-old Yiddish man.
I just find the more you go to London, the more your swearing dissipates. Every time I go to London now, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. This is just terrible. Everything's so terrible. Every time
what are you about, mate? I live here. I live here, and I swear like a trooper. I've sworn more on this show this time than I have on any other show previously. But then, of course, you see, studies have proven that people that swear are, of course, more intelligent.
Yes.
And it's got to be the correct use of swearing.
Yes.
Katie
collects mini brands toys.
Mini brands.
Mini brands. I don't know what they are. I'm going to Google that once we finish.
Food packet ones.
Series 1 gold ones and Series 3.
I do collect synthesizers, but that's one that is quite prohibitive because I used to collect them when they were worth nothing, and now they're worth so much that it's like, oh hell. So yes, but yeah, no, I don't know really, to be honest.
We're old. Yeah. We just like to sit around moaning a lot about our aches and pains.
You think though, social media has meant you don't really have any secrets because you're on it. I mean, I'm on it all the bloody while.
Means I don't have any hobbies.
Yeah, and you just yeah, but your hobby is getting things sent to you and then trying them on camera.
Oh,
that's where you've got to be careful with that one because it could go down a rabbit hole.
I had one this week. It was, I think I referred to it as that I was assaulted. I laid in bed afterwards, like literally an hour after, and I said to my wife, "Oh, that hurts." No, it didn't go anywhere. It was a wearable thing that goes on a male
thing.
Sex organ. Look, it went on my cock. It went on my cock, and it sorry, people, this has really got there. It's got 2 bullets underneath, one bass, one treble. And Donna thought it was funny to turn it all the way up.
Bass and treble,
like real. Or
is it a musical instrument?
I think I made some noises.
She played a tune on him.
I'm sorry, people. This went way where we didn't want it to go.
See, we are way before the watershed. But luckily it's online. We'll only be banned for a few years. Anyway, see, there you go. See, that's why there isn't any such thing as a secret hobby.
No.
Because thanks to the internet and social media, us three can be sitting here talking about trying out vibrating thingies for your what's it.
It was live. A review. This wasn't just for pleasure.
Yeah. See, I've been intrigued as to how you would review something. You didn't film it on.
No, good. No one wants to see that.
You'd be amazed.
Actually. You would be amazed. You're back to Tory politicians again.
Wait, see, this is it. See, this is you get yourself an OnlyFans page, and the next thing you know, sat on my butt, whole different meaning, mate.
Exactly.
Anyway, let's move on. Ask another question.
I did a series talking about various products, and it didn't go very well. And I called it the "Sat on My Butt" plugs.
Well, then, I was sent a question this week. I was sent a question by
God for that. Save us, Dan. Save us.
Pull us back.
Yeah, they're sent by a beautiful new website, Unpaid Carers. Go and follow them on Twitter. They're excellent. And they asked me what we were talking about earlier before we went in there about Keir Starmer's statement about prioritising working families. And why is it Labour seem to be echoing the opposition in totally neglecting the needs of the care and disabled community. So what do we think about prioritising working families over anyone else? What was this big obsession with everyone?
I will always put hard-working families and their priorities first, he said, didn't he?
But we seem to be obsessed with work.
Week, we saw Dan say that he's now politically homeless, which was quite a shock tweet, actually. Quite a wow.
Well, to be fair, I really always have been. I don't think any of them are up to the standard of leading their country because no one dares to do anything outside what's going on at the minute. So you can't say anyone's going to change because nothing has changed under any government for the past 50 years, and nothing's got better. Everything's got worse. So I don't see how just putting anyone in will make any difference, and that's just what frustrates me.
We've spoken about it before. We've said, the media has done such a good job as portraying us as lazy scroungers who are doing very well on benefits. Yeah. And so it's easy to treat us like this.
Yeah. But it's just snacks, doesn't it? I mean, not everyone liked Corbyn, and I can see the reasons why. I perfectly understand why. But at least Labour at the last election had that massive massive disability manifesto they put together was just absolutely breathtakingly wonderful. But of course, that's just with Keir Starmer's done, is just brush it all aside. And I see the Conservatives levelling up for his new disability white paper equates, I think, to an extra £1.29 per disabled person per year.
Oh, per year? Oh,
yeah.
Blimey.
It just perpetually worries me. We're on this catch-22, this Morbius strip of negativity, of constantly being ignored. And when is it ever going to change?
And every year they vote to not give us a fair pay rise in line with inflation. And recently, as we were saying, prices of food, everything because of the B word has just shot right up in price, and we're back where we are.
Yeah, I personally think that it is damaging to always talk about disabled people as if they're out of work.
Yeah,
we aren't all on benefits.
No.
Yeah, most of the people I know that are disabled work. Yeah. So I think that there is a massive issue with always painting disabled people on benefits. We aren't all on benefits. So what it needs to be is a understanding that people on benefits are on benefits because of a reason that is valid, whatever that is, and that you can be assisted into work. But that has to be in a society, like we went back to, how do you declare being disabled on a job application, that is accessible and inclusive. And so, you know, why should it be like Zek, for example? You know, you'd be able to get a job where you work from home, where you do the things you can do at home at your own pace when you are able. And then that way you'd be earning as opposed to getting benefits. And these are the things we should be working for. So if a party started saying that, then hurrah. But again, you are correct. They always go, well, you know, if you're hardworking, well, I mean, is anyone not hardworking? Are there a load of people out there that aren't working hard? Oh, hang on. Maybe there are. They're called MPs. But do you know what I mean? It's like, if you're truthful about it, I don't know anyone that goes to work and sits with their feet up.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So, and I think, because I think it's something that happens a lot, is that we equate disability with unemployability. Yeah. And I think that becomes a vicious circle. Yeah. And I think that, so then what happens is there are some people who can't work because they physically can't do it, or they mentally can't achieve.
Exactly. Yes.
But there are loads of people who are out of work because they live in a society that says disabled people are on benefits.
Yeah.
So therefore and also that if you have a period of ill health or you're unemployable for a bit, right? When you come back to work, that shouldn't count against you. No, what have you been doing for the last 3 years? Well, I was unable to work, but now I am. Do you know what I mean? And I think that so, but but we don't hear that. We don't hear how are we going to get people back in? How are we going to make inclusive workplaces? You know, again, the area that I spend a lot of time banging on about with companies, and it's just sort of, you know, you can't believe how far behind things they are, despite the fact that we had the DDA come in 1995. So they've had long enough to change their work practices. And I mean, at the minute, everyone get back to work.
But that seems to be the only time they talk about disability. We're going to help you back into work. And yes, many work, but there are some. You know, my problem is, you know, I can do things like this. I've been laid up all day. I've had a week. I've got a stack of products here to review of various products, like from Disability Horizons.
Don't start getting your weird sex toys out now. It's still after. It's not the
sorry, we've got a strange comment that's just thrown me. And I don't understand. Some NJ Cafe has said, my friend and I are butt to butt in the advice. Now, have I gone and opened the... I don't know. Am I not understanding? Or
can you please elaborate, NJ
Have I opened up a whole new subject here that we really shouldn't have delved into?
I don't know, but why do you think that disabled people are effectively political pariahs that were always mentioned, but were mentioned after a little bit of a nudge to mention?
Because of this whole media thing where we're portrayed badly, it's not good for them to mention because the general public won't like it. I'm paying my taxes for them to sit around and do nothing.
Which is quite ironic when you consider at some point in your life, everyone will be incapacitated at some point, which is quite, and the number of carers in this country is growing by 6,000 a week, so everyone will be a carer. So it's quite an odd situation.
The big problem about that, though, is the fact that there are a whole load of people out there who believe they won't, who believe that by eating mung beans and doing yoga, they're never going to get cancer, they're never going to actually get old, you know, and kind of basically that, you know, people deserve it. It's again that myth of, you know, the deserving poor. It's the myth that, you know, oh, well, what did you do then?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another one of those, what happened to you is, so what did you do then?
That's it.
As if, you know, well, I went out and hammered my, you know, and it's that idea. So I think that, we are at a point, I think, where we do need someone to step up and say something. I mean, you'd think, oh, maybe the Greens, but then they're the ones that are sticking cycle lanes everywhere and, making everything impassable. Yeah. And every time you try and raise the fact that you now can't park in a city centre because it's been pedestrianised,
you can't get a taxi to the curb.
What do you want? People to die on choking on fumes, you evil cripple? And you're like, no, I just want to be able to park slightly closer than miles away, and I can't afford a hand cycle. And but anyway, DHTV, it was meant to be a fun one. This we were
I mean, for me,
each other.
I can work.
I know Ed Davey really well, and I know he's really trying to push the snow. But the problem is, no one's listening to him. No one's giving him airtime because, unfortunately, he doesn't have that. There's nothing on him that the media can pick at and push at and nip at, like they can Starmer and Johnson. But unfortunately, we're stuck between a rock and a rock because they're both extremely alike, and they're both
more like a rock and a pebble at the moment, isn't it? Rock and a pebble.
We're just lost. Yeah. I mean, it just beggars belief that we're never mentioned in any passing on anything, and I don't think I can see a way it's ever going to change.
How's this affecting
the other
you?
Thing, though, Zach, I was just going to say, Zach, the other thing that's not fair is you can't work at the minute, but you worked all your adult life up until then. You pay, and that's what national insurance is. Benefits doesn't come from handing out things because they're great. It comes from the insurance system where you pay in money and get benefits out of the system, and that's it. So, like Dan has a disabled daughter. Oh, now they're trying to find ways to live and earn money and benefits and stuff. But before you were working, my parents paid into the system, right? Then I came along, and that's the point. That's what we need to start saying is when we say benefits, we don't mean like a present.
No,
we mean that
it's a shit present.
Yeah. Well, we could be in America and there could be no present, and that would be bad.
I mean, how's this for you, Dan? I mean, how's this affecting you? But for me, the rising fuel prices, the not being able to have blood tests, the whole hospitals, the whole thing, I'm having to kind of go, no, I can't pay too much attention because my mental health has really dipped really low. And I think that might be part of the reason it's had an effect on my physical health as well.
But to be fair, I've spent so much week talking about it across various media channels and talking to parents online and carers. I haven't really had a chance to let it all come at me and sink in because I've been pushing it through the disability union as well. So I think when I sit back to take stock, then it's really going to hit me like, oh, I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of picking, like you guys, picking up this mantle of a battle every single morning. But yeah, we've been worried about getting at Emmy's hospital. We had to take her in last week. Yeah. So it's a case of just rationing, walking everywhere, not seeing my mum, who also needs looking after because she's on her own. She's 86. It's just the country just seems to be on a path of regressive self-destruction. And I can't see the reasoning or the mentality behind it.
It's a bit, it is, you don't like to say it and you try. I tried to be upbeat. Oh, it's okay. But there's not a lot to see. I'm just glad Strictly's back on because confession time, this old boy likes Strictly. Yeah. I think old Katie could be in trouble tonight. But there you go. Anyway, that's a whole different subject. And that's why we're going to wrap up on time. Right. It's 7 o'clock.
No, you are right, because Strictly serves a purpose. It's safe television. It makes people happy, like Bake Off. And that's a rare thing. If it gets people together and makes them happy, forgets everything, then that's the whole point of it. And it does work. So Bake Off, not so. I mean, they made Jamie Dodgers, and I didn't have any biscuits. That actually was really bad for my mental health. That was
never seen an episode of Bake Off. Never seen an episode of Strictly. I would rather stick pins in my eyes. Television, it's now the opium of the masses. Religion used to be.
Confession time. My wife used to watch it. She would go in the other room and watch it, and I felt bad because she's watching it on a little tiny screen. So I said, "Come in here," and I started because I was like, and this isn't very PC, but I was like, she's got a nice bum, and that was how I started. But now
it makes you feel good. It makes you that's the point. We only watch during the week. I only watch Bake Off. Emily loves Strictly Come Dancing. Anything else, I've just got a book in my hand, or I'm writing away, or stuff like that. But
see, now I can't help it. I've got
a program like that can just make people feel good, then I think it's just go with it.
I've got a terrible picture of Zek watching Strictly Come Dancing with the vibrating thingamajig on, and his wife going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. It's the quick step 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it's like, oh yeah, 10 out of 10 for that one.
No more. I know a fleckle from one of the other steps now that I can't think of because I've just asked my brain to think of it, and it's gone.
It's why I don't watch football. It's all these people showing off. Look at what I do with my fully working
legs.
No
sequins.
just legs and stuff.
It's so hatey. Football's so hatey. It's just so angry and hatey. It's just
it's all legs.
Who do you support? You wanker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's just too hatey and stuff like that. But no.
So Sophia Davies says she's been on a waiting list for 18 months for any pain treatments, and they put her back on the waiting list as she missed the phone call. It's the sign of the times, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, without being funny, Sophia, the annoying thing about pain clinics is then when you do get there, you go, oh, well, that was pointless.
Yeah.
You spend, I mean, I did actually wait about 18 months, went to see one, and they went, oh, well, you seem to be taking everything that we could have given you. Tried yoga. Yeah.
Had a hot bath, cup of tea. Yeah. Like every mental health specialist I've been to.
Have you tried not thinking about it? Yeah, that'll work. But actually, what you need to do, so go right to the start of our thing, because we did an episode on pain ages ago. That, of course, was why we have a thing that says all the comments are and all views are the presenter's own, because I said some things that got us all into trouble.
Have a look at what we say, but not Mick.
Yeah, my pain treatment regime can be bad, but there we go.
Oh, but no, Sophie's put it again. They're pointless. They just say physio and antidepressants. I think they like to just thrust out antidepressants.
I got referred to physio by pain clinic and then discharged by pain clinic because that's all they could do. But physio said we can't see you because it's through pain clinic and you've now been discharged.
Yeah. I even went to a spinal cord injury pain clinic, and even they were useless. And it was like, I give up. To be honest, what you want to do is get yourself a nice trained GP. Right, that's my advice. Get yourself a nice GP and train them up. You combine it with a combination of being knowledgeable about your own impairment and a kind of telling them the bad stuff, telling them what you used to be able to do, telling them the good stuff, and kind of getting them so they're like, oh, we'll see what we can do, and then basically you're sorted. Because
I had a great GP, and she's had the cheek to have a baby and go on maternity leave. I'm really upset. I've got a phone appointment tomorrow, and the one that's dealing with me at the moment is just
under par. They're under par.
Under par.
I keep having phone appointments for a skin condition that I caught off my wheels from someone spitting on the floor. Lovely, right? And they keep going, should we do a phone consultation? And it's like, well, unless it's a video phone consultation, not really. So how's your skin? It's there. And it's just bizarre. So it's
I was sending photos in of a problem that I had, but it is very odd. And I had this problem going on, which was new to me because they think it's the same thing. Oh, it's just what happens with you. And I'm like, no. And she said, well, what do you want me to do?
Help.
No. What do you want me? What do you want to do? And she said, look, are you worried? I said, well, my mum's got bowel cancer. She's having chemotherapy. And I went later on, looked at the notes, I logged in, and I was worried because my mother had died of bowel cancer. So I phoned them up and said, so I told my mum what you said. And she said, sorry, who did you tell? I said, my mum. And she went, sorry, your mum's dead. I said, no, she's not. I didn't say that. Yeah, no. Because I don't think they pay you the same sort of attention over the phone. They're under great pressure. I don't want to knock any NHS staff. They're amazing. But it's struggling, isn't it?
Well, I was thinking, because on Halloween, it's my turn. And I'm thinking that what we'll do is we'll have horror stories, disability horror stories for the night of horror. We'll all get made up. Everyone tune in, get made up too, right? And then we'll all swap horror stories. So I want everyone to get their best horror stories ready to tell us all. And we're going to read it all out. And we're going to do it all in our best spooky voices.
I think that's
because we might, of course,
by candlelight.
The whole night.
It may have to be.
It won't be a 45-minute job. That'll be. And then. In fact, I'm only 2 years into being a wheelchair user at this point.
I only went for a mole on my bum, and I'm now a wheelchair user.
Oh dear!
I'm now differently abled.
That's it. Differently able, physically challenged, special.
You're down to that chair.
Special. You're so special.
That's another story.
Yeah. You're so inspiring, both of you. Both of you are so inspirational, by the way.
We are getting near the end. We are getting near the end because the results show. Don't make me press the button. What have you got coming up this week, guys? Because I know I'm boring. I'm going to be laid on the settee. I'm going to try and do some reviews, but that is basically it. But my two co-presenters, what are you up to this week? Dan, what are you doing?
I have another first draft of another book to send in. I'm speaking to my agent tomorrow about the other children's book I've wrote. I'm off up to London on Wednesday. There's a DWP thing going on, which I'll send you the link to that, Mick, actually, in a minute. Up at a London hotel. What else am I doing? A bit of work for Intent Health. I've got to take something of Emily's to hospital tomorrow, and fingers crossed it's all going to be okay. Other than that, just writing Typee Disability Union and just generally getting Gur on. See if I can out anger Mick on Twitter.
That's a point. When's the next?
Mr. Adam Pearson's popped up.
Yeah. When's the next newsletter for Disability Union? I keep thinking I should write something for it, but.
For that start of November would be great.
Cool, brilliant. Okay, yes. What I will do
for coffee Wednesday, Dan.
Yeah,
yes, Adam. That'd be a yes, because I've got to nip across to Comic Con for Emily to get, because she says it's a Queen pop-up shop, not hello, but for the pop-up shop I've got to go to. So yeah, nice one. Yes, please.
Yeah. So tomorrow I'm going for an MRI on my shoulder. Because
really?
Of course, when you're in an old wheelchair, usually your shoulders drop off. Then on Thursday, it all starts because it's Diane's 50th birthday on Saturday next week.
No.
So imagine, luckily there is no DHTV next week because we will be wrecked. So it's going to be party Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There is a party the weekend after, a house party. So it may even be that what I do the next Disability Horizons is just pile in with all my friends and we will just carry on because that may be where we are. And I also just want to say, because Adam's here, I saw Adam's thing about this elephant man dissection thing. Totally agree, Adam. Absolute pile of crud.
Disgusting.
And as you said in that BBC interview, if you haven't seen it, go online, the BBC News thing about...
Yeah, please check it out.
Right. Absolutely right to say, well, where next? I'm a medical rarity. I was the first person to be cured of a cancer that I had, and I'm all weird, and I've got all these experimental surgeries in me. I'm not overly keen to think that, wow, should we do it as a show? Let's cut him up and show everybody. Wasn't it amazing? It's just terrible.
Sorry, was that a no, Mick? Hang on.
That's a no. Yeah, that's a. So I am an organ donor, but not. You can't have my body for. I mean, unless I get top billing.
Right.
Talking about organs.
Even the title of that show was a bit like, what?
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah,
for pure entertainment.
Adam, why don't you come on one episode and talk about this, and we can talk about the broader issue of the kind of commodification of disability that seems to be happening now.
Yes,
there you go.
It's been a mastermind. How are we going to keep up?
Well, that's it.
It must admit, he's the best.
It's nice to meet you better sometime, isn't it? And tug you for a lot, all Squire Pearson.
Exactly.
Anyway, we had actually almost finished on time professionally, but now we've screwed it up. When is Strictly thing? Is it 7 o'clock?
It's on at 7
Oh yeah, you got ages.
On BBC One HD, I expect. It's it makes me happy. It keeps me away from all the crap that's going on. If I go on social media, I'm just going to scroll through the endless horror stories.
And this epiphany of anger, which unfortunately I've turned you on to because I've politicised you, according to Mick.
Yeah, we've ruined him.
I must admit, my Twitter feed has changed since I've known you, Dan, and I've done all the follows. But I'm
so proud. Mick, I've had a son, Mick.
Whatever you do.
Congratulations, it's a boy, 20 stone 6.
Yeah, hooray! Well, I suppose we should end there, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I think we should.
We will end there, and we will see you next time with Mr. Who's leading next?
Me.
Dan, and what are we talking about, Dan?
Disability history.
Ooh. With Philippa.
Yeah.
Cool. Philippa's my
subject, boss. Disability.
She's my editor on a magazine. 80s music, Blitz, in the store soon.
She is lovely. Lovely and brilliant.
Yep.
We will see you then.
And historical. Yes.
Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Goodbye, guys.
See you, folks. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for everything. See you soon.